Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and welcome to another film journey. This time, I'm actually joined by my friend Rob, the Movie Vault. He's actually, it's a little bit later right now where you're at, the end of the day, right? On Saturday, where we're at right now,
Yeah,
or
Sunday.
Sunday?
Yeah,
Sunday.
not too bad. Not too late. Just had a dinner, so it's all good.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I just had lunch, so that's good.
Yeah,
So,
nice.
so how's everything been?
Yeah, everything's good over here. Staying safe and all that with the current stuff. Hopefully you are the same. Yep.
Yeah, I'm definitely staying safe over here. We spoke a little earlier about how things are going and how hopefully like the cinema being open and everyone's being really cautious and whatnot. But at the same time, some of us are not being very cautious. So hopefully we can change that perspective.
Yeah, hopefully. But everybody should watch some movies anyway. Stay in, watch some movies. Wear
Stay
your
and
mask
watch
now.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what we're doing today, right? So we're doing the film
Yep.
journey.
Yeah. Hopefully I have an interesting one.
I think so. Based on just our conversations, just through chat, like I know we have some similar movie memories, but also like similar music journeys and whatnot too. And so that's going to be something interesting to unpack. So you already know my first question, and
Yeah.
that being, what do you associate with your first early memories with film?
My first one, I'm gonna, and hopefully it's okay. I have some props. I have some stuff on the side here to throw in. I got a laser disc of this one because I think in one of your recent film journeys you were talking about you never kind of got into laser disc, or was kind of a little bit before your time. I
Yeah.
didn't either, but then I picked up a laser disc player a while back, so I start grabbing some laser discs. So my first movie memory, I was 6 at the time. Batman, 1989.
Oh wow.
I have a cool Japanese laser disc here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is the first thing I kind of remember going to the cinema with to see. My dad brought me, and then either on the way to it or on the way home, I remember getting the Batman baseball cap and the toy of the Batwing and stuff. And yeah, that was kind of it. I don't remember like seeing the film in the cinema or the theater. I just remember going to it and coming home and getting the stuff, getting the hat and the toy, and it's kind of weird because it kind of stuck with me since I was a kid then. And I have I know you have tattoos as well. I'm covered as well, but I have a massive Jack Nicholson Joker tattoo on one of my legs, like the whole bottom half of my leg. And it's just kind of weird that the movie stuck with me, and I'm a big fan of Batman. I'd buy anything to do with Batman up to today. But it's just kind of weird when you grow, as a kid, you're like, Batman, yeah, Batman, and like, boo, Joker, he's the bad guy. And then kind of later on, I'm just like, man, Jack Nicholson was pretty cool as Joker, and the villain you just kind of switch to the villain. Like, I find I do
They're more
myself.
interesting.
Like, yeah,
A
exactly.
lot of the
Yeah.
times, I mean, especially with his rogue gallery, like that's what makes Batman so interesting, is his rogue gallery is like
Yeah, it's
phenomenal.
super cool. I just like last night I finished up the first disc of the Blu-ray, the TV show box set. I got that Christmas gone. So I'm slowly making my way through that stuff. But yeah, it's kind of weird because then Batman kind of stuck with me. Because I worked as a lot of people won't know, like watching your channel. They may know if they watch mine. I did work as a cinema projectionist for like 8 to 10 years. And then digital came in, and we were kind of let go, and then I went back working as a projectionist again for the last 2 years. So Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy is something I'll probably mention later on, because that was awesome being able to run that on film. And then the other one that kind of sticks out with me, like actual going to a cinema to see a film, is I remember there is a cinema like 5 minutes down the road from where we live now. It used to be called the UCI, and now it's Odeon is the chain that took it over. I remember kind of pulling up. As a kid, we were going, me and my mom and dad and my little sister. We went to see Home Alone, because I remember seeing Home Alone in the red letters on the marquee. I want to say
Yeah.
Home Alone was 1990, was it? Maybe 90.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Somewhere. Yeah. So again, I probably was only 6 or 7 or 8 at the time. But again, I watched Home Alone a million times, on TV and stuff since then. But another interesting kind of tie in with that cinema that we went to see, I would work. That was the first cinema I worked in as a projectionist then, like years later. So that's kind of a cool tie in. But other kind of early memories for me is I think probably similar for you is it's all VHS and VHS stores, going to the video shop on Friday evening looking for something you'd rent
Preparing
for
for the
Friday.
weekend.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday night, and then you'd bring it back on Sunday. So the years ago, the other house we lived in when I was a kid, we there was like a video shop across the road, kind of like a not like a chain, just kind of, you know, a privately owned kind of I guess like mom and pop kind of a
Mom
shop.
and pop shop, yeah.
Yeah, you call. But it was this really, like, it was a really tall building. There was like, you know, you'd go in the ground floor, but it was like 3 stories of like, you just go up and like, it was like a house that was turned into a video shop, and every room was just full of videos. And I used to, like, I'd watch the wrestling a lot when I was a little kid. So we
Me
would
too.
rent, like, you know, Royal Rumble 1990 was one I
Yeah.
rented over and over. But what was really cool was when that video shop closed down and they were selling off all the stuff, I was able to buy one of the things I rented over and over and over.
Oh, wow.
Airwolf the movie.
Airwolf.
And it's still in the original. So I think this is I kind of looked this up before. I kind of want to say when I looked it up, like, basically Airwolf the movie was a thing over in Europe, but I think basically they took the first 2 episodes of the series and kind of made it into a movie for Europe before the TV show launched. But yeah, it's just super cool, and it has all the please rewind after you stickers and stuff.
Yeah, of
are still on it.
course.
Now it's probably unplayable, like, you know, at this stage. But it's just something cool that I sort of kept in the. I don't have a lot of VHS anymore, but that's kind of a cool one that I kept. I'm gonna just keep rambling on here, so just jump in or stop me when you want to.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say
another one.
Yeah, you keep going, man.
I had a cousin who worked in, there was I'm just going to stick with the video stores for a while here because there's of a few more. There was a chain over here called Extravision, and I had a cousin who worked in that, and I remember, again, another toy back to Batman. So 92, I think Batman Returns comes out in 92, but I'm not too sure when the VHS would come out. Was it maybe usually like a year later or something, was it?
Usually like that.
Yeah.
Like that.
We were dying to see Batman Returns and we couldn't get it anywhere. So my cousin works in this video rental store, and I remember kind of rolling up. I have this is the old DVD.
Oh, yeah. Was that with the black?
Remember those old Warner
that right
cardboard
there.
ones? That was the cover
Awkward.
of the VHS. And I remember kind of we went in to get the copy of it off him to rent out, and he just had like stacks of the VHS covers, and he's just putting them into the empty VHS boxes, and he's like, "Do you want a pile of these?" I'm like, oh, I thought that was the coolest thing as a kid, so I got a bunch of those, and like that, and just memories of Batman Returns that I remember really being like, yeah, I remember seeing Batman. Here he is, he's back again. And Michelle Pfeiffer she was an absolute standout in that movie for me. She's unbelievable, and like I just completely stole the show for me, even as a kid watching, even now later on.
You're confused. You're like this person's like kind of like, you know, like what you like, because you're a kid at the time. You're like I don't know what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah. Yeah, she's unbelievable in that. And another one, kind of moving on, you know, so VHS comes in. So we had a pretty decent VHS collection when I was a kid, but we'd also, you know, just buy blanks and tape stuff off TV. So when I remember taping off TV and watching over and over and over again was Aliens. That's the old, I have the old DVD version here. I have some cool Blu-ray box sets of Alien, but, you know, they're too big to hold up here in the video. But, do you know, it was a weird kind of story I have with Aliens was, I didn't know Alien existed for the longest time. I was just like, there's this film called Aliens, and, you know, it's these army guys and they go in to kill the aliens, and it's pretty awesome. And then, you know, years later, you know, I would find out, wait, whoa, there was a first one. Like, you know,
yeah, it's very different tone too.
yeah, exactly. Then I think I have, what have I got here? Of a few more cartoons as a kid. I have a really old. This is kind of like a tin can edition. Transformers. This is Transformers the movie. So I was super into the cartoon as a kid. I have all the series inside. All my movie stuff is in the other room to me here. But yeah, that was one I remember watching over and over on the TV and stuff. And I didn't just like I've only 2 more here to show from early memory stuff. Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Was a big fan of Ghostbusters, and Blues Brothers as well. Loved the Blues Brothers when I was a kid. They were just kind of I just grabbed those quick out of collection just to kind of show here. Yeah, so I just thought I would throw up some, those are kind of early movie memories as a kid. I kind of have a bunch more stuff. Once again, you know, just stop me because I would talk for Ireland unless I'm stopped. I keep going. So, you know, the next kind of movie memories for me is like DVD comes in. I want to, over here, I want to say I got my first DVD player around 98. I started at the back end of 98, and I picked out some cool stuff here. So the very first DVD I ever bought was, we weren't even euro at the time, we were still like Irish pounds, and I paid £40, which was like unheard of. You know, like you'd get videos for like maybe 10,
Right.
12, 15, 40 euro, and it was Blade, Wesley
Oh
Snipes'
wow.
Blade. Yeah, which is really cool. And I want to kind of say, like, the special effects didn't really hold up the last time I rewatched this.
Yeah, I watched it last year for the first time. I rewatched it for the first, because I watched it when I was younger, but I didn't really. I just remember the very first scene of that film,
Oh,
and
it's amazing,
then
isn't it? And the remix of that is, I think it's a New Order song, like a remix of a New
yeah.
Order song, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing, that opening sequence. Yeah.
But then then you look at the special effects and you're like, okay, maybe this doesn't look as good as it probably did back in that time period.
Yeah, I
Kind of
kind of
crazy.
find that revisiting some of those older 90s, I'm doing
Like,
the horror things on my channel. The Frighteners is a movie I love, but you're looking at it kind of like, man, I don't know about these effects. But I try and kind of keep in the back of my mind, like, this was 90 whatever, and that's how it was at the time. So, but yeah, kind of like with the DVD stuff, I remember then, you probably remember this stuff as well. So we're region 2 over here. So then, like, the next coolest thing after a DVD player was you would bring your DVD player to, like, a company who would put a physical chip into your player, so you were able to play region 1s and you could import stuff from the
oh
States,
yeah.
which was amazing. So I have the first region 1 I was able to kind of import then was the first X-Men.
That movie's amazing.
Oh, super into that. Like, when that was out, that was the first one. And then I actually went on, I was still in school, during all this time. So the school that I was in went on a trip to, like, Washington for like 3 days, I think, in New York for 7 days. And it was all like pre 9/11, so the towers and stuff were still there, and we got to go up and down, and it was awesome. But I remember, one of the cool things I bought was this, like, tin slip
T2, yeah.
version of T2, and which is really weird because the back is kind of missing a whole, like, section. But that was something cool that you would never get anything like that over here. But yeah, region 1s, and that was a whole new world. And we used to kind of me, and there was, like, say 3 or 4 of us. We all kind of worked in an IMAX cinema over here together, and, like, one of us had a credit card, and we would all ask him to order the stuff for us. And there was a website we used to order from. I think it was based over in, like, Jersey in the UK, and because it was tax free and stuff. But it was nothing like now. There was no online. You would order out of a catalog. You would get the number and phone up this number and say, hey, I want to order, like, 10052, and just pay with your card, or you'd mail off the slip to order stuff. But yeah, that was kind of that's really when the collection I have now started, like the DVD stuff in '98, and importing the region 1 stuff as well. And at some point, eventually, kind of, I don't recall when, but Blu-ray came out, and sort of I went with that. And then last March, I think, is when I made the move to 4K and bought the 4K player and the 4K TV. And yourself, it turns into a whole thing. And then I had an amp and a surround set up in the room, and then, like, the amp won't take the 4K HDMI signal, so I had to upgrade the amp as well. And Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, it's a whole new thing. But I have to say, I'm delighted that I kept up and upgraded to 4K, because it looks unbelievable. Some of the stuff looks unbelievable, I'll say.
Some of it,
Not
yeah,
all of
yeah.
it does. Yeah.
Some of it looks like Blade,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
where
terrible.
you upgrade and you have to see if it really does fit with the technology, and if it was even a good transfer. So, you talking about the mail-in orders, like calling the numbers and then also getting that mail-in code. Like, I did that a few times. Like, that was going away kind of as I was growing up. Like, when I remember, I think my first DVD player that I picked up when I was younger, I had, like, a DVD and VHS player, like
Oh
the
yeah, nice.
combo, like,
Yeah.
because it was still in transition. I think I got it back in 2000 maybe when
Mm.
I first picked that up, and I just remember having VHSs. Had, like, a lot of my VHS that I still had, the stuff that I was still getting from Blockbuster, and I had a really small mom and pop shop nearby where I lived too, and we would go there every Friday or Saturday or sometime when we can, and I would get movies just for the weekend, and then I'd have DVDs too, like X-Men. That was like I remember that was one of my first DVDs, because I was really into that superhero kind of stuff. I had, like, Spider-Man and a lot of that
Yeah.
Fox films that were happening at that time. Obviously, Spider-Man and X-Men being kind of the best, and then you'd get to Fantastic Four and kind of the stuff
Yeah.
that was not so good, the Elektra and the stuff
Yeah.
that wasn't holding up for that time period. But yeah, no, I don't even remember when I first went from DVD to Blu-ray. I want to say it was late because 2000. When did Blu-ray come out? In like 2007, 8?
Yeah, do you know what? That's funny you say that, because I was just thinking back. I didn't pull it out for the video, but the first Blu-ray I bought was Casino Royale, and that was out in 2007, I think, wasn't it, or 2006 in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was another one I ran as a projectionist as well. That was pretty cool because we opened a brand new cinema. That was the big opening movie, Casino Royale. So yeah, somewhere kind of mid to heading towards the late 2000s, I think Blu-ray came in.
Yeah, I didn't get anything until
correct us.
2010.
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I ever, like, I got Avatar, which came out the year before. And I'm like, well, this is one of those movies that I would like to see in a better picture quality, because at that time, that was a film that would make sense to be on Blu-ray, right?
Yeah, sure.
And, like I had a bunch of DVDs because at that time I was just like exiting high school, and I was definitely did not have any money whatsoever. And so I had my DVDs, and that was good enough for me. And I would spend my paycheck. At that time, I was really into CDs at the time as well. And
sure.
So that's when I started working at this record shop that I worked at. And so I would buy either CDs, like I would come in every, I think at that time it was Friday when new releases were coming out. And I would come in and get some new music and some new movies and be like, all right, this is my paycheck. And then once that all happened, and then luckily, because I started working in a record store, I could finally transfer, and this is where, like, if anyone's watching this right now, like, you be quiet. This place doesn't exist anymore. So I got away with some stuff, but we were able to sell, and transfer a lot of my like old movies. Like I had Jurassic Park and Star Wars all on DVD and VHS, and I still have some of those back at my parents' home. But I transferred them finally over to Blu-ray because I got them for like really cheap, because I was there selling my old DVDs and then just barely spending any money on the upgrade. It was very, very lucky.
Yeah, that's cool. We, over here, you talk about working in the record store. We, before I kind of start working as a projectionist, we worked in like a video game arcade, and there was a bunch of us, a couple of our friends. We used to like, me and my friend Ray in particular, we would go on our break and we would kind of hit like every DVD shop, like, maybe twice a week. So we'd hit like Terra Records, Golden Discs is an Irish one. HMV was here as well. There was a Virgin Megastore. There was like a smaller one, and then a giant Virgin Megastore over on the Keys, like in town. And yeah, we just hit every one of them every day, and just whatever was new. If we had the money, we'd buy them. But yeah, same as me, man. We spent a fortune, small fortune, probably not small fortune, a large fortune.
A large fortune. Well, particularly for our wages, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, back at the time, getting paid nothing, an hour to kind of work away, and you're trying to build your movie collection. And that's kind of another interesting thing, is I just kind of thought of there, is like I do get a lot of people kind of message me about, like, I'm sure you're probably the same as well. People watch your videos and they're kind of like, hey man, like I see your background, like your background behind you have all these like awesome box sets and stuff, and people are just kind of like, I'm only starting, how do you like build a collection? And I remember at one point someone kind of saying to me, hey Rob, you're mentioning like you have 2000 like things all like titles all together, and I was trying to tell people, if you're only starting, just kind of remember, I've been collecting since pre-98, so you're not going to get this massive 2,000-3,000 Blu-ray collection overnight. Like, it takes time, right. And especially nowadays, you can look and get some bargains. But yeah, we definitely we spent a fortune all right, and now they're worth nothing. They're just kind of like, and I don't know if you're the same. I kind of find myself really like, we were talking beforehand about I've got a pre-order in on the new Friday the 13th, the Shout Factory box set. And there was like a kind of one Amaray case, like kind of Friday the 13th Blu-ray set that I only recently got earlier in the year, and I still haven't gotten to watch it, so now I'm kind of doubled up, and I find myself really nostalgic about, like, I have each individual for the 13th on DVD with,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
of
don't want to
course.
get rid of them because they have those covers, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, man, Blu-rays don't have those, so I'm like, I have to keep all 10 of them or whatever on DVD. So I find myself like with that about certain things that I don't want to get rid of the DVD, even though I've done the upgrade, like you were talking about earlier. But yeah, some of them I just have to hold on to.
No, I get that, and especially with like VHSs, and I mean, you had a Laserdisc up. I mean, also I can tell behind you have records, and so
Yeah.
clearly with us, there's a physical artistic kind of look to it, and then you miss out on so much if you get rid of a certain version of what like the older version had. And I don't know about you, but I know when I used to collect, like I used to watch anime a lot more when I was a lot younger, and I still like anime. I still have like Miyazaki films next to me, and some of those. But when I had the VHSs of like Dragon Ball Z back when I was growing up, I like they made a picture, and they made that picture on the side of the whole thing. I don't have them anymore because I just like I don't have a VHS player anymore for me, and I just don't have a DVD player either. So it's just it's hard to upgrade, and like especially like you were saying with people who are like asking where do I start. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time because I mean I told everyone 2010 is when I got Avatar on Blu-ray. That was like the film, and then I think I picked up maybe Star Wars and a few other titles that were bigger, and eventually you see the Mad Men that we are now.
Yeah.
And
We need everything.
It gets to be a little bit of an obsession.
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, for sure. It's funny you say like the Shout Factory, Scream Factory version of Friday the 13th, because I just ordered. I know they just had a Shout Factory sale, and I just ordered the Abbott and Castello box set. So like I can't stop.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I've never seen any of those, but they're like, meets the Wolfman and meets Frankenstein and all those. Yeah.
There's some in this particular box set right here, which is all the Universal horror monster films. There's some there's obviously all the Abbott Castello meets, whoever of the monsters, but like I've only seen those ones. So I'm excited to check out all the other films that they've done.
Yeah, cool. I have a Universal Monsters. There was a Blu-ray set came out over here a while ago. I think it's just the 8 movies. There's no sequels or anything like that. But that's definitely one people should pick up if they don't have. That's a nice one to have in the collection.
Yeah. So I guess what happened next once you've been upgrading all these different times. Obviously, we're at 4K now with a lot of the things happening, and we're all slowly upgrading to things. But do you remember when you were like finally obsessed with film? Like what particular moment or time that you remember having this obsession?
Jeez, I don't think I can pinpoint a specific time. It's probably just with the start of the DVD, and it's kind of weird. Like DVD is still the main chunk of my collection here. I think I've done a quick rough count early on before the video. I'm just over 2,000 on everything. But I mean, I collect. I have VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, 8mm, 16mm, 35mm, 70mm film. I have some stuff of that to show you here with the working as a projectionist as well. But yeah, DVD I think is still like 1,200, 1,300 out of the 2,000, and it's, as we said, like some stuff you just never went on DVD to anything else, so you can't get rid of those. But yeah, definitely kind of moving along, starting the DVD collection in 98. That was probably the start of what I have now. Ended up there. But then at some point along the way, I think I kind of mentioned earlier briefly, like we had an IMAX cinema over here, so like proper IMAX, 62 foot by 82 foot screen, one of those. I worked in there just as, just general staff, on the box office or concessions or whatever, an usher shift as well. And that was where we kind of, my friend Colm, who was like a manager in there, and I'm still friends with Colm today. He had the credit card, and he was the one that was buying us all the, important the reason ones and stuff. Mm-hmm. So we was, I think that was maybe actually now that I'm thinking of it out loud, that was probably like maybe the start of really kind of, because it was 4 or 5 of us, and we were all just super into like DVDs. Yeah, DVD is the new thing, and we all wanted whatever the latest thing was. But and that was kind of that was a cool time, because that was even though I worked on the floor and stuff in IMAX, my cousin's best friend Sean was a projectionist in IMAX. Who I'd known Sean since I was a little kid, so I would always kind of be up to the projection booth to kind of see, like, you know, what was going on and stuff. And that was kind of the start of me being interested in projection and stuff. And like, how could I get into that? And I was still in school at the time, working in IMAX, and then unfortunately, in a kind of a weird other sort of story, we went into work. Like, IMAX wasn't doing too well at the time over here, and we went into work one Sunday and we were told, like, it's closed tonight at 8 o'clock and you don't have a job anymore. So to kind of get ourselves some redundancy money and stuff, I didn't do it at the time because I was still in school. I think I was doing exams at the time, like leaving cert or something, maybe, or maybe not leaving cert, junior cert. But anyway, all the staff kind of locked themselves in the projection booth because the IMAX projector was getting sent up to the new IMAX cinema up in Belfast. So it was the only thing that was worth money, you know. So they were kind of like, the staff was like, let's lock ourselves in, we'll get our redundancy, and they won't be able to take the projector or whatever. We'll, you know, a deal was done the next morning, so it was only one night long. But that was kind of the start of, like, you know, me getting into wanting to do projection. I'd done a year of college then at some point. I'd done multimedia, which was kind of like, I think it was like, say, 6 or 7 classes. It was like filmmaking and websites and graphic design. And I was kind of into that in school. And then kind of, I'd done the year of college and I was kind of like, man, this is really not for me. I think I'll kind of see about the projection thing. And I was working in the arcade at the time that I mentioned earlier on. So I kind of just went around cinemas going like, hey, how do you become a projectionist? Like, you know, it's so weird because I get that question now, like, you know, years later, people kind of come to me to find me and ask, how do I do it now? But, you know, back at the time, it was kind of like, I eventually got a job. And like, a funny story I like to tell is I kind of feel like I annoyed my way into getting a job. Like the local cinema I talked earlier on about seeing Home Alone in, we were living in the city centre and I was going to college out here at the time doing that multimedia course. And I remember going down to see I don't know, I guess over here they were called chief projectionist. He was the head projectionist, the main guy, and then everyone else was just a projectionist. So I remember kind of meeting with him and being like, hey, I want to really do this. And another cinema kind of sent me out here to kind of talk to you guys about training and stuff. And it was kind of like, you know, the old, you know, come back in 6 months, we'll see.
Oh yeah, that whole like, well, we're not interested right now, but if you remember to come back and
yeah. And so I kind of did, and cheekily enough, I went back 3 months later and was like, hey, remember me? I'm back again. And I think maybe I made one more trip like a month later, and then it was kind of like, okay, we have a part-time job. And that was in 2002, and I worked as a projectionist from 2002 all the way up to 2010. So like, throughout that time, I was able to build the DVD collection. And as we mentioned, Blu-ray came in at some point towards the late 2000s. So I made the switch at some point there. Actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, I keep saying that over and over, but stuff keeps popping into my mind as I'm talking. I remember when I moved from one cinema out to working in another one, the one I mentioned earlier that we opened up, the brand new cinema with Casino Royale. Mm-hmm. I remember out of that first monthly paycheck, that's when I bought my first Blu-ray player, and like new surround speakers and new amplifier and all stuff like that. But yeah, and then like the projection stuff is just kind of like, I have some stuff aside here that I mentioned earlier. I'll kind of show you guys. Hopefully people are interested in this, because I kind of think, I don't want to say there's no other projectionist on YouTube who has a movie collection, but I don't come across them very often. I have a friend in the States who kind of has a YouTube channel and he talks about being a projectionist and a little bit of movie stuff, but I think I have a unique sort of viewpoint on some things like that. So I have some cool, so once the film was kind of finished its run, you know, the trailers would just be kind of thrown away after the film was finished. So I start saving trailers at some point, you know, when I realized like these were getting thrown out and we could just take them. So like one of the first kind of standout movies for me in the first cinema I worked in was running the first Tarantino movie for me on 35mm, which was Kill Bill Volume 1. So I have this is like the full, you'll kind of see. So this, I love
the black and yellow too.
Yeah. This is like a 2.5 minute trailer. Huh. You kind of see on the band there. It might be hard to see, but they kind of like, sometimes they would suggest on the band, like, please play this trailer with like all other films, which is kind of cool because you can look back, like, you know, when was Kill Bill? 2003, the first one, maybe?
2003 or 4, maybe.
Yes, somewhere around there. And you
Yeah.
can kind of look back 17 years later going like, man, what else was out Once Upon a Time in Mexico and like Bad Boys 2? You know, it's really cool to kind of see, look back and see those things on the trailers. The other thing I talked about earlier, Batman. So Batman really stuck with me, and then I was able to run 2 tours of Christopher Nolan's trilogy. I unfortunately was gone by the time Dark Knight Rises came out, but I have a cool Batman Begins trailer, version 5. So there was 5 different versions of Batman Begins. I was lucky enough to get to 5 of them. I was working in another kind of, I have some like weird tiebacks to stuff I've already talked about. So the cinema I was working in at the time where I ran Batman Begins, after the IMAX I worked in closed down, it was in a kind of like a center where I previously mentioned working in that arcade was downstairs in the kind of shopping center. So the IMAX, when it closed, that end of the center just got boarded up. So there was a cinema at the time it was a Virgin Cinema, same as like the Virgin Megastore, record stores and stuff over here. So at some point they kind of switched from Virgin to a French company, I believe, called UGC. So they kind of expanded into what used to be the IMAX, where I worked as the floor staff. So when they expanded, they were looking for more projectionists. So in a funny tieback, I got a job as a projectionist in the building where the IMAX was that I used to work as a floor staff member. And it was really weird because that IMAX projection booth that I mentioned being in earlier was still there. It was a projection booth for like the biggest screen in that cinema. It's called Cineworld now. It's like the biggest cinema in Ireland here, 17 screens.
Wow, that's a lot of screens.
Yeah, 6 projection booths over 5 different floors. So it's a lot of walking around. Or it was, you know, when it was all 35 mil. But yeah, that was a cool kind of tie back into that running Batman Begins in there. And then I have one more trailer here. So The Dark Knight obviously is fantastic. And I firmly believe it's the best out of the trilogy. Like if you had to pick, I always kind of say this in the videos, if I had to pick a weak one, not that it's weak, but I would kind of order them Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins.
Oh, I'm the opposite.
Are you? Oh, cool. Because I kind of feel like Batman Begins is like, we have to go through the setup. Okay, cool.
Right.
And Dark Knight is like full blown. Okay. And, you know, Heath Ledger is just phenomenal in Dark Knight. Unbelievable. And I kind of like, I have it down here. So like my favorite film ever, if I was pushed, would be The Crow. And I've always kind of, you know, trying to tell younger people, explain like, you know, Brandon Lee died and there was this whole hype about like, how are we going to finish this movie? And then it got finished and released. The only thing I can compare it to is Dark Knight after Heath Ledger passes away. And like, it's crazy. I have some others. I don't actually have it out, but I have memos from Warner Brothers about like the security for the 35 mil prints and like make sure the projection booth was getting locked up and kind of, you know, like, I mean, you're probably fairly familiar. So if people aren't, like, when you would get a film print into a cinema, it would be like in 6 reels, say 5 or 6 reels usually, like say, reel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you would just get them all in one box. It would be delivered. You would make it up at a kind of, you know, I'm kind of miming out stuff here, but you would make it up at a rewind bench. You would kind of, it's kind of hard to explain. So you would kind of get like a giant spool. I have all this stuff aside, but I don't want to jump off the video to grab it. But you would kind of make it up sort of backwards, if that makes sense. So if it was 6 reels, you'd get reel 3 and you'd get the end of reel 3 and rewind it on first, and then the end of reel 2 would join the start of reel 3, and the reel 1 would join the start of reel 2.
Right.
And you would plate them on till like we ran like a platter system. So it's kind of, it ends up one big kind of film reel that kind of goes through the projector and back onto a plate. But yeah, the security was so like weird with the Dark Knight. So like one day we got reels 1, 3, and 5, and then like another day we got reel 2, and then the third day we got like reel 4 and 6 and 7 or something like that. Like it was, they didn't want the whole print there the one day, and piracy and stuff, you know, was still a big thing. People with video cameras in the auditorium. So yeah, just crazy. So that's a nice kind of tie back in of a long way of getting around the story, but that's a nice kind of tie back to Batman at the start of the video here.
Right. Well, I mean, that was also around the time that I know with like Dark Knight that there was like in America, at least there was some shootings going on.
Oh yeah,
at that time. Yeah. And so I mean, I'm sure that added security from Warner Brothers. Like, I mean, just from the sheer fact that there's piracy, one, there's also the security of like the safety of the people who are involved, and also just like, you know, from the sheer fact that it's something like Batman. Batman is a really big product, and is a product that has spanned so many different generations for so many different people. You know, just going back, you know, to the 1940s with those detective comics, right? And like, you know, I kind of grew up with those the Michael Keaton Batmans too. Like when I was growing up, I guess. Well, when I was a kid, my first exposure was that George Clooney fun time mess of Batman and Robin, but which I still enjoy myself. But you know, yeah, every generation has like a Batman to it, and for some reason in my mind, you know, thinking about that time in particular in cinema, like I was 16 years old back. Was it 2008 when that came out?
Which one now? Batman and Robin?
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight. Yeah, 2008. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, like I'm going around in circles too.
Yeah.
But like with Dark Knight, I remember at that time, you know, 16. So like I'm still learning to be like I'm starting to become an adult at that time, where it's like I'm still trying to learn. And I just remember being somebody who would just go to the theater and not I'd go to the theater every week with my friends, and but at that I remember when that shooting happened, I remember my parents being very cautious of me going to the theater, especially watching specific types of films, maybe darker films that would maybe inspire people like that. And so I definitely had to warn my parents, you know, like, hey, it's fine. This was an anomaly. I hope like this doesn't happen again, you know, and luckily it really hasn't happened in a movie theater again. But, you know, it just unlocked that memory for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I completely forgot about that until you mentioned there. The crazy stuff. I have a couple more projection movie memory kind of things I thought I would throw in here. Another one for me, which you know, I haven't watched this in the longest time. I have a DVD here. When I worked in the cinema in town that took over the IMAX, we used to run at the time it was Jameson, the whiskey sponsored it. So it was called the Jameson Dublin International Film Festival. So it's like the biggest festival over here. And it would just be, oh man, it was just madness. There was like prints upon prints upon prints, you know, like 35mm prints everywhere for like, I can't remember if it was 7 days or 10 days. And, you know, we would pull these double, triple shifts, and, you know, we'd get paid some nice overtime at the end, and we'd get a free bottle of whiskey, which was pretty cool. But I remember my first year working the festival, I don't know how, but somehow it sort of happened that I made up the 35mm print for the closing film, which, you know, was the big deal and was the premiere, and it was Monster, the Charlize Theron.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And that just kind of stuck out to me earlier. I was just kind of prepping some notes for when we were doing the video here, and I was just kind of like, oh man, I remember I made up that print, which was the premiere and the closing night of the film. And if there was something wrong and that was made up bad or anything happened, it was all going to be my fault. But luckily enough, fingers crossed, everything was cool. But that was just a nice memory, because, you know, once you'd kind of done one festival, they were all kind of just blurred into one into the other after that. You know, there were a lot of just a lot of stuff. I can't even really pick out another movie out of, I think I worked in there for like 3 or 4 different festivals, but that first one always kind of stuck out, that I was the one made up this kind of premiere closing night print. But and then kind of you know, I was the whole time I'm still collecting my DVDs and my Blu-rays going along, and I moved around a couple of cinemas, and then, you know, digital kind of came in around, I want to say over here, like maybe the back end of 2007, 2008, or somewhere around there, where we had 1 or 2 digital projectors, but everything was still 35mm film. And then like 2010, it comes in fully, and the cinema I worked in, there was like, they owned a couple of different, like a chain, I guess, like they owned 3 cinemas over here. So basically there was like a good 12 or 13 projectionists all just kind of made redundant at the time, because, you know, I'm sure everyone's familiar now, like it's all the digital stuff, the films come in on hard drives, and it's just servers and hard drives, and, you know, server space management is really what it is now. There's no like physical prints or anything like that anymore. So then kind of, you know, I wasn't doing anything to do with film. I got really down on cinema, and I remember like that year I was let go, 2010. Wasn't that the year The Dark Knight Rises came out, or was that 2011?
What's 2012?
2012. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like I didn't want to have anything to do. I didn't go to a cinema. You know, the next film I went to the cinema was The Dark Knight Rises. That's what I was trying to kind of get
Yeah.
around there. That was the film I was ready to pay money to see, you know, again. Because I'm a big fan of Christopher Nolan's stuff. So I was going, man, I have to see the end of this trilogy here, and what an ending. Fantastic film. But yeah, so then I was just kind of like bummed on cinema and stuff for a while. I'm still buying some Blu-rays and stuff, you know, going along. And I kind of had I kind of started my own business for a while, like a film video production thing. So then what I actually done was I decided I wanted to make a documentary. You know, I don't know if it's the same for you or like people, you know, watching the video. I kind of feel like, you know, when you're in college, when you're in school and you're in college and you start collecting all these movies and you get super into film and you're just kind of like, oh man, like I want to be a filmmaker, I want to direct, or I want to, like, for the longest time I was just kind of like, wouldn't being a cinematographer be like the coolest thing, and learning all about like cameras and lights and, you know, all that, lenses and all that sort of stuff. And it just kind of like, as I said, I'd done that 1 year of college and it just kind of didn't happen for me. So, but filmmaking was always kind of a hobby thing. Like I'd made a couple of, working as a projectionist, as I mentioned, because I watched the wrestling from a little kid all the way up to maybe like 5 years ago or something. I don't watch anymore, but I had kind of at one point, like I would fly American wrestlers over to Ireland and we would shoot like a documentary about their life story in wrestling, and
Oh, wow.
kind of get all this footage of them wrestling and, you know, make these documentary DVDs and sell them on a website that I had at the time. So I kind of had all this filmmaking stuff, and then, you know, I was doing the business at the time. So I decided, like, man, that, you know, that IMAX I worked in and the whole, it just closing down one day and the staff locking themselves in the projection booth is like, that's a kind of interesting story, because like over here in Dublin, if you would say to somebody now, hey, you know where that giant cinema is, we used to have a real IMAX there. Like they have an IMAX screen in it now, but I don't know if you guys call it this over in the States, but over here it's like these digital IMAX screens, they're not like IMAX size screens, so over here they call them Limaxes. Like it's a
Oh, that's funny. I actually haven't heard that term, but that's very apt.
Yeah, it's so there's one of them there now where like our proper IMAX was that I worked in all those years ago. So I just kind of thought like, hey man, I have all this video equipment. I'm still in touch with some people. I think it was, oh man, I'm trying to think back now if it was 2016 or 2017 I made that documentary. And I mean the IMAX had been closed since 2000, so it was kind of strange to kind of, you know, be phoning up these people going, hey, remember me from 17 years ago? I'm going to make a documentary about us all working in this cinema. And you know, it came out pretty good, and it's on YouTube. I'll send you the link if you want to check it out.
Yeah, actually, if anyone's watching this right now, I know we're breaking the fourth wall right now, but it'll be in the description when he sends it to me.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, so, you know, kind of tried my hand at some filmmaking stuff, you know, outside of the projection thing at the time, and tried a business and still collecting me stuff going along. Not collecting as much then, you know, kind of self-employed and running your own business is pretty kind of stressful, you know, when you've no work, you've no money to buy Blu-rays and stuff at the time. So, and then luckily enough, again, as another weird tie-in story, that IMAX documentary I made, I was selling Blu-rays of it at one point on a website I had, and I got like a DM on Twitter from this guy who was kind of like, hey, you know, I mentioned in the documentary, that's what I'm kind of telling you here on the video, like, you know, that's where my interest in projection started, and I became a projectionist after the fact. I got this like DM on Twitter going like, you're a projectionist, right? And I'm like, yeah, you're the guy that made the IMAX thing. And I'm like, yeah. And it turns out it was my now boss in the cinema I work in. So there's a cinema here called the IFI, the Irish Film Institute. Like it's we kind of have the film archive is there and stuff as well. So they still run 35mm film because we do a lot of film festivals. Like last year in particular, we have a French film festival every year, and we had kind of a Bresson season, and we've had a whole load of 35mm prints of his films. Like then, you know, we get to run them and stuff, and it's really cool. So one of the part-timers had left kind of abruptly, and they needed someone who knew what they were doing, and they needed someone who knew what they were doing quick.
Good timing.
So I'm kind of, you know, how quick can I tweak back and say, I'll be in there tomorrow. So yeah, that was really cool. So after like an 8-year absence, I got back into being a projectionist 2 years ago. And yeah, I'm still there now. It's super cool. Like, it's the only cinema in Ireland that has a 70mm projector. So we can run 70mm prints. Like, we have, we still have a print of Dunkirk 70mm sitting there that was specifically made just for us, just for our cinema here. We run 35mm all the time. We run 16mm, 8mm, and that kind of, you know, that super got me into collecting all that stuff. I don't have any more of that to show you, but it's all kind of off to the side. I have a kind of film bench and stuff set up off camera. Yeah, you know, I bought a 16mm projector. I have a video of that on my channel. You've seen it. You know, I'm starting to do these vlog style kind of videos. I'm trying to introduce my projectionist kind of content onto the channel at the moment, and kind of, I think it's some stuff people might be interested in. So yeah, trying to kind of add it all in. But what was super cool then about that, I've two more things to show you here. The first brand new 35mm film I got to run after 8 years was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was brilliant. This was my favorite film of 2019. Really, really cool, and the 4K looks fantastic as well. Yeah, that was just super cool because I hadn't run a film in like 8 years, and you know, after 8 years, you're kind of like doubting, like, oh man, can I still do this? Am I, you know, and you're trying to like tread up a projector, like, Jesus, is this right? Because if it's not, you're gonna wreck this brand new 35mm printer Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But yeah, that was really, really cool getting to run that again. And then 2019, I want to say this got released over here around October time. Joker, we were able to run this on 70mm again. This was the first time I got to run 70mm. I mean, it probably sort of sounds stupid to people watching, like, what do you mean you never got to run 70mm? So like 70mm wasn't a thing in like multiplexes over here. It's just 35mm. And not to sound stupid, but 70mm is the same, except it's double the size. Like, it's
right,
like,
yeah, you just do the math.
Yeah, it's literally the same thing in terms of the projector and stuff. It's just the print is bigger, and we change out some stuff on there. We have a dual 35mm, 70mm projector. So yeah, Joker, that was a nice kind of memory as well from last year. Although this 70mm didn't look that great. I mean, Joker wasn't shot on 70mm, was it?
Yeah, I think it was digital, right?
Yeah, and then they use digital intermediates and all this sort of stuff that's a little bit over my head to run off 70mm prints. But and then, you know, this year, you know, kind of after the lockdown and all that madness earlier in the year, we reopened with Tenet on 70mm, which was brilliant again. You know, as I said, big Nolan fans, that was pretty cool to be able to run that. And we kind of got shut down again. We're in another kind of mini lockdown at the moment. So I think I don't know, Tenet is kind of a weird one for me. I mean, I went to see it and I loved it. I don't know if you've seen it or
I still haven't been to the theaters.
Have you? Okay, right. It's, you know, I saw it and I kind of, going into it, I watched the very first trailer because it's kind of like, I don't want to know anymore. That's enough. Right. You know, let me see it then. And I just kind of feel like I need to see it a second time because my brain is kind of still trying to figure out that backwards fight scenes and stuff like that. But I've kind of been finding, I don't know if you're the same, but anybody I've talked to about Tenet, it seems like people are split 50-50. Some people love it and some people just don't get it at all, which is really kind of interesting. And I you know what, I kind of feel, I don't know how it was for you guys in the States, but over here in Ireland, there was like, obviously a lot of films release dates got, you know, like off the slate, like pushed back this 2021.
Or put on digital streaming, some kind of service, right?
Yeah, Disney pulled a few things like that, didn't they? And I just kind of, Warner Brothers were adamant. They're like, nope, Tenet is coming out, and it's coming out in July, and, you know, pandemic or not. And then obviously it did get pushed back. I mean, it ended up opening over here the 26th of August. But I kind of feel bad for Christopher Nolan because, you know, I think he's a fantastic filmmaker and people expect a lot of stuff from his movies. And I just kind of think Tenet was going to shoulder a lot of burden about COVID and going back to cinemas and stuff. And it was never going to do as good as it would if there wasn't a pandemic, obviously. So I kind of feel it's been unkindly looked upon, and, you know, in figures and box office and stuff like that. But it seemed to do well over here. I mean, one of the cinemas I worked in, I think it was the top film for, you know, as long as we were reopened until we closed again. So it's, Yeah, it's a strange one, all right. Hopefully it gets the love it deserves once it goes to physical media. I'll definitely be
Yeah,
buying it anyway. Yeah.
that's probably when I'll probably be watching it. Unfortunately, because I definitely, I've seen pretty much every Christopher Nolan film on like IMAX or in
Yeah.
some kind of cinema of some sort. So this is a strange time right now, just from the sheer fact that it's just not a part of my routine anymore. Just going to the movie theaters, just because I want to be safe and I want to make sure that the people that I'm around are safe as well. And so it's a weird thing. And I know that some movie theaters have just opened where I'm at,
Yeah.
not that long ago, with a lot of precautions and making sure everything's okay. And I'm sure it's fine. It's just I just don't have the time really to like go out and do that. So it's weird, and I've never really had like that mentality of that thought switch. I guess the only other time was me going to China and making like that was the only other shift away from my normalcy that I used to go to the theater all the time. Now I went to the theater in China a couple times. There was like a little theater right outside the university that I worked at that I would walk to, and so I watched maybe some of the Disney films. I remember watching the Rise of Skywalker completely by myself, which was the strangest thing in the world because
Hell
it
yeah.
was opening night before the entire world saw it. So this was on Wednesday, like, the night before it would come out in the States, at least. And I know that when I went there, like I watched it at, I think maybe 8:30 or 9 at night. And I would get there, and then I sat there for 5 minutes. There was nobody around me, and it was maybe 5 minutes away from the movie to start. And then I walked outside, and then in my broken Chinese and my Mandarin, I asked if I was the only person here, and they're like, "Yes, you're the only person for this particular film." And I'm like,
That's crazy.
"Really? Opening night?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." So I watched it all by myself, and like I had a good time. Regardless of how I care about the story or whatnot, I just sat back and enjoyed a Star Wars film, and that's what is. So I have movie memories according to like the cinema, and I really love going to the cinema. In fact, I love escaping from my house to go out and watch
Yep.
something. I really love that, and I miss it, but the time will have to come when I feel more comfortable with it.
Yeah, for sure, exactly. And it's funny, another interesting area is just being on your own. I was kind of, this probably sounds bad, as because I've been a projectionist as long as I have and like love film and stuff, but I was never like overly a huge cinema person. I'll watch whatever here at home. Obviously with the with the collection like yourself and stuff, but I don't know. It kind of got to like, as I said, when we were all kind of let go that time, I was like, man, I'm down on going to the cinema at the moment. I'm not up to it at all. But what was really weird again, which is with the projection thing, so as I mentioned earlier about the Dark Knight and getting the print in and stuff, like, so when we would make up a 35mm film print, we would have to view that print, and we would have kind of a clipboard with a checklist, and you'd kind of write a report on the print, like the condition, like, they were all obviously brand new, but just in case something was wrong, or somebody missed a kind of like a lab joint or something, which would make a bang going through the sound head and through the speakers and stuff. We would kind of like get to view the film just on your own. You'd go into work, and early morning, 10 o'clock or something, you go into work and you'd stick on the Dark Knight and make sure everything was cool before it opened, on the Thursday night previews. So I got kind of, all those years being a projectionist, I got used to just sitting on my own, like you're saying, in this, nobody else there. And now, especially with everything that's going on, I couldn't imagine sitting in a full screen or full auditorium full of people. It just, for me, it just doesn't work at all. And I did go and see Tenet down below, and like you're saying, everything was really safe. I never felt unsafe.
Right.
Everything was kind of in place. But yeah, it's just kind of weird. That was opening day at Tenet over here for show, and there was like 4 other people in the cinema with me. Like, it's just, I don't know. They say hopefully Tenet gets its deserves at some point, but not at the moment anyway.
Yeah, I hope so too, and I hope that the future of just theaters get a little bit better as well.
Oh, we've frozen.
Yep, I see that. See if there's anything here.
Oh yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, there you are. I was gonna say, yeah, I hope that Tenet gets its due, and I hope that the theaters kind of just get back to normal. That's the big thing at the end of the day. There is a future for being a projectionist, and I think that would be something that I think we are getting to a spot now with digital and a lot of people are they know about the digital, and I'm sure the people who are working in the projector booth, or what it was, used to be called projector booth or whatever it's called now, I think there's going to be a resurgence, and so I think your expertise on these things are going to be really useful, and I think that your channel is definitely very useful in that regard too, just sharing those memories and also what you've been currently doing.
Yeah, hopefully that's kind of the goal. It's it's really weird. We kind of I talked to a couple of projection friends, and it's kind of like looking back now. We all have video, on our phones and stuff now. Like we didn't imagine if we would have had that, all the years of memories or what I have from 2002. It's just kind of like, that's why I have a bunch of videos on the other channel of, running Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Tenet and Joker and stuff like that, because I just kind of feel like if I'm not going to capture it now, who knows when all this will go away. So just try to get as much of it as I can. And another kind of projection tie-in, so I mentioned The Crow earlier on. I have like one of my most prized possessions is this 35mm trailer for The Crow. Hopefully you can see that there.
Yeah, I can see that.
This is a brand new trailer. Never ran through a projector, and I paid a small fortune for this on eBay. I've been looking for this since I started in 2002 and could never find just couldn't find one anywhere. And it popped up on eBay, and I had to pull the trigger and got it. And it's fantastic. There's some cool. I know nobody likes talking about Miramax anymore, but when you open this up, you can kind of see Miramax 1993, and when the trailer was made and Film House and stuff like that on it. It's really cool. But that's kind of one of my prized possessions here in the stuff. I say I don't get to show off a lot of the projection stuff, trailers and stuff like that. Hopefully I'll try and add it in at some point. But hopefully that's kind of been an interesting take on stuff and an interesting film journey for the viewers here.
Oh, for sure. No, this is definitely incredibly unique. This story is like amazing. Just hearing like your time as projectionist and time at the IMAX, or now you're seeing like the what did you call it? The fake IMAX now? Limax, yeah. So like stuff like that, where like, and just down the street, 5 minutes away from when you were growing up and seeing that theater, this is all wonderful, because these are like your own memories that are specifically yours, but also at the same time you're able to share that, and like going back and making that documentary with your old coworkers. I haven't seen the film yet, but I'm really excited to now, because just knowing you, and also just knowing how much that time meant to you, and clearly it still means so much to you right now, because clearly we're doing this thing right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's some cool stuff. People will probably remember, if they do check out the IMAX thing, years ago when you went to an IMAX, you would get those big gray clunky 3D glasses. Like it's all that sort of stuff, and it's just kind of interesting. Well, hopefully interesting to some people when they check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess from here, where can everyone find you?
I'm kind of everywhere, yeah. So I have the YouTube channel, which is just YouTube/themovievault, all one word. I'm on Instagram as well. Actually, we spoke earlier before we were recording, so I kind of have split stuff. So if you're interested in the projection stuff, I have a projectionist Instagram. It's just called Projectionist Rob. And then the Movie Vault is the.movie.vault on Instagram. I am on Twitter. It's just Projectionist Rob. I just have one account, because it's all these accounts kind of become a nightmare fairly quickly.
I bet.
And I'm on Facebook, and I have a page on there as well. So wherever you are, you'll find me somewhere.
Yeah, I'll be putting all those in the description down below for everyone who is listening right now, and I also will put a link to that documentary as well, because I'm just excited to watch that now, and I'm just excited to follow a little bit more along with your film journey, buddy.
That's awesome. Thanks, Nathan. I just I don't know if anybody said it before in the videos, but I've been watching your videos, and I'm kind of like, man, look at his Criterion. That's like color coded, arranged. Is it behind you?
Yeah, that is. I've decided to. Because I get bored and I like to rearrange things sometimes. And so at the moment I have kind of a white, and there's like a little bit of like yellow and green and blue and like red and black, like, kind of Roy G. Biv kind of thing. I don't know what's going on. I have to change it up all the time.
Yeah, I'm the same as well with the background. I kind of find like I want to face some box sets out and then turn around, but it's just something that kind of struck me, because I'm kind of like weird and I like all my stuff A to Z, and I just kind of was like, man, like Nathan has his stuff like in some, it's like white to black. That's a clever idea. I like never thought of doing that. Like,
You
but
know
I'm
how
just
hard that is?
kind of a little bit OCD about I want stuff A to Z because I want to just be like, oop, there's what I'm looking for, that kind of way.
No, I completely get it, because on the other side of the film that you can't see, like on the other side of me, is my A to Z, like numbers, I guess, numbers and then A to Z,
Yeah,
for like my normal Amaray Blu-rays. Like, yeah, I see over there, like I have MASH, the film, the master, I have Upgrade, National Lampoon's Vacation. I'm looking over there. Just my normal films that I would just have on Blu-ray are like all over there. And then all of my boutique labels are like right up here. And then, yeah, these are the stuff that, lately I've been a little bit more focused on. And so rearranging it is fun, and it makes it a little bit more interesting, especially when it comes to the background. But I can definitely understand that OCD quality.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, it's cool. And the boutique stuff has really kind of taken off lately, hasn't it? I kind of feel like this is a great time to be collecting stuff. There's so many and so many different versions and box sets, and 4K. There's a lot of stuff going to 4K now, and Criterion is huge, and it's really, really cool. And all these, the videos you've been doing, and there's a couple of other we have a couple of other YouTuber friends in common as well. And I just kind of, as much as going on in the world at the moment, I kind of feel like all the film, I don't even know what do you call us? Like, are we a film collecting community, Blu-ray collectors?
Yeah,
I
who
don't know.
knows?
I don't know what the name is, but we've all kind of come together. Like, everybody, lockdown hasn't been easy for everybody, but I kind of feel like all of a sudden we've kind of banded together and we're doing these types of videos, and there's live streams, and everybody's kind of like supporting everyone else, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, without naming so many different names, but like, Dave's our friend, Vanessa's our friend, Elliot, Daisuke, like all these people, like, I mean, all these other people that we haven't even mentioned, like, there's so many people that I'm probably not going to name. So unfortunately,
Yeah, we'll offend
but
somebody by not naming them.
yeah, and I'm so happy that I'm able to like chat with you and all the people in the past that have chatted with me and continue to talk to me, and also at the same time, all the things that we're doing in this community, not just things that I'm doing, just watching what other people are like having a conversation about is just really, really exciting. Because honestly, it just like I think I talked to you earlier before we even got on my camera and record. I don't know. I've been feeling like a second wind from a lot of my earlier YouTube days when I kind of first started doing YouTube. I've been feeling a lot more comfortable being myself and being around other people, and I think it's just a really wonderful time right now.
Yeah, it is for sure. Exactly. And again, talking earlier on, for the longest time, I just got obsessed with like needing all these subscribers. And now I'm just kind of happy that, a review or something I put up, someone will kind of like take the recommendation, or, people just kind of want to talk, or, that kind of thing. It's really cool. So, yeah, as long as we can kind of help each other out, that's the main thing.
Yeah. Well, do you have any other finishing thoughts about our film journey today?
No, I don't think so. That's kind of my life story, and as quick as I can kind of tell it. Yeah.
Well, I loved it, and I can't wait to have you back on sometime. And I think there's so many more things we could talk about for sure. And I hope everyone at home enjoyed this little video, this film journey, and I hope you can check it out for the end as well. Look at those links down in the description down below. I hope you give this video a like, comment down below, tell us some of your movie memories. We're curious, and if any of you have like movie memories as somebody working at a theater or maybe a projectionist booth, that would be really interesting too, because they're more and more rare nowadays, and I think that would be really cool to listen and hear those stories. And also hit that notification bell, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.